This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Welcome to episode 174 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn Duran.
And here we are in our third video episode. And Cody's on his third promotional movie hat with Mr. 3000. R.I.P. Bernie Mac.
Yeah, I figured with baseball season starting this week, it was appropriate to include a very forgotten about Bernie Mac baseball movie.
I don't even remember the plot of that.
I think he was just getting 3,000 hits, and I think that was it.
So he was the baseball player?
Yeah.
Yeah, I copied you. I wore my this is a Mordecai promotional shirt. The Johnny Depp movie that... Johnny Depp, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Ewan McGregor movie that I have no idea. I saw it, but I don't remember a single thing about it.
It's one of the worst movies of all time.
It was released in January, so you know it was bad. And Johnny Depp had an English accent the whole time and had a goofy mustache.
Big fake mustache.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Jocelyn? I assume not.
What year? What year are we talking?
Like 20...
It's probably like 2013 or something, right?
Wow.
I don't know. I have to look that up. But it's fairly recent. It's like in the downward slope of Johnny Depp's...
Oh, 2015. Wow. I thought this was a
career
long time
trajectory.
ago.
Yeah, it's never been... it's a long way from the first Pirates of the Caribbean.
I learned there's 5 Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, I've seen every single one of them.
Wow. And I learned that through the court proceedings of his crazy divorce with Amber Heard.
I don't remember. Okay, so I love the first one, and I think most people do.
Yeah, I think everyone.
And I think the other two are are like 2 and 3 are super bloated, and we revisit every single character that no one really gave a shit about. Like what was it, like the Commodore or whatever that Elizabeth Swann was supposed to marry. And you still get a plot on him, and then you have was it Chow Yun Fat in the third one? This? Does he remember?
I'm not.
Cody,
I'm
have you seen these?
I have, but like I recall thinking only the first one was good.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I don't remember. And
I'm just shocked there's 5. Like,
the fourth
2
one
and
is
3 I get, but
the fourth one is actually like they get rid of Elizabeth Swann and whoever Orlando Bloom played, and it's just focuses on Jack Sparrow, and it's terrible.
oh man, that sounds like it might be kind of fun.
No, because he's not a lead character. That's the thing. They never realize that with these movies is that he's the guy that has to come in and like
do the comic relief.
Right. Like you can't follow this guy forever because he's a fucking nut job. I think that one had Penelope Cruz too.
Wow.
And it was actually they like bought the rights to some novel and adapted it. There's a whole
It's so weird.
And then
I love how much you know about it.
I know. And then the fifth one, both Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley come back, but they look exactly like themselves still, but they have like a grown son. Like he's like 20 years. It's kind of like in The Mummy. Did you ever follow the Mummy series?
No, that's another one I did not follow.
The third movie, Brendan Fraser still looks exactly the same, and he has like a 25-year-old son at the end of that movie, or at the beginning of the movie. Anyway,
well, you're contributing to Johnny Depp's like that's even low, $10,000 a month. The Wine Habit, I think it's more like 50.
I didn't buy this shirt.
Okay.
So let me just be clear. I think our friend Kiko.
That's a lie. But
I think our friend Kiko gave it to me.
Yeah, we occasionally get some that random promo merch. Like I have a shirt that I would never wear anywhere, but they were handing it out, and it's a Hot Tub Time Machine 2 shirt, and it just it might even be the first one, and then like it says Hot Tub Time Machine on the front, and on the back it says "Come in the Tub." And I'm like, I can't wear this anywhere.
I believe we talked about movie merch in a previous episode, but talking about your hat. But yeah, if you pay for it, well, I mean, Cody's is collector's items, stuff that he's
Obviously,
sought out. A Mr. 3000 hat. How much did the Mr. 3000 hat set you back?
It was like $8.
Oh, okay. There are some
including shipping.
Okay, good. There are some that are ridiculously expensive that
Yeah. There was like a hat for Blue Chips that was like $40. I'm like, why?
Because it had Shaq in it and Gary
Nick Nolte, right?
Gary. What am I trying to say? Yeah, Nick Nolte was
we
the
are
coach.
probably thinking Gary Busey.
I think
yeah.
Wasn't Penny Hardaway in that too, or am I crazy?
I don't know. I don't know that I ever saw it.
I know Shaq was in it. I saw it, but I don't remember it. It's a very, very of its time movie. Anyway, speaking of movies, it's a good segue.
On a movie podcast.
yeah.
So clever.
Some news this week that actually now none of the movies scheduled to come out this year are being released this year, as Tenet was finally taken off the calendar altogether by Warner Brothers, postponed indefinitely, as was Mulan. This has been a long time coming. Cody, you had quite the laugh at this, I think.
Yeah, no, I've been laughing about it for a while. So I think Tenet was supposed to be August 17th, and I thought they would delay it to the 31st, and then I thought they'd go indefinite. So
yeah, because they kept pushing it back 2 weeks.
Yeah. So super proud of them for actually doing it. Though, from what I've heard, is that they're just gonna like push it to like Labor Day, and then we're gonna do all this shit over again. But yeah, I mean, I think every time that Tenet gets moved, there's this ripple effect that seems to be happening. So Tenet gets moved, and then Mulan gets moved, and then now you have I think all the Avatar movies got bumped a year.
Whatever Star Wars is coming next.
Yeah, so now we're gonna have to wait till like 2027 for Avatar 5, which I mean sucks. But
I'm so eager to see what the appetite for Avatar is when it comes back, because I've told you this, Cody, a bunch, but the movie, I see nothing, like no one gives a shit about the movie. But
right.
If you
it's not a great movie.
People love it though.
But if you go to the Disney's Animal Kingdom park in Florida, there's an Avatar section, and that place is the hottest ticket in that whole fucking park. Right. And it's crazy. And I mean, I just wonder if that, like, if that is like one of those like silent majority things, like people just don't want to talk about Avatar and it's really popular.
Well, so I don't really know. One thing that is for sure is that, so I think they filmed Avatar 2 and 3, and then or maybe just Avatar 2, and I think if it makes money, they're going to go ahead and finish filming like 3, 4, and 5, or even 4, 5, and 6. I think it might be 6. So I just don't get it. And I don't think that it's not really a touchstone for anyone past that. I mean, if it didn't have that park, would anyone even be like thinking about Avatar right now? It came and went. It was like the biggest thing in the world, and then they waited way too long. I mean, by the time Avatar 2 comes out, like what, 11, 12 years are going to have passed?
Yeah,
because it came out in 2009.
10, right? Or was it 9?
It was 9, yeah.
And I think Avatar 2 is now 2021 or 2022.
Yeah, because it was Christmas 2009, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, but it is under, of course, the Disney umbrella now.
Right.
Which is probably the significant difference between that and being with Fox, that it's going to be something that they're going to want to franchise, since they already have an interest in it in their park. So, speaking of Disney, Mulan is now off the calendar. Though there is rumblings that stuff like that may be released overseas first.
Same with Tenet, yeah.
In significant places. And I guess one of the biggest things this past week was Bill and Ted 3, Bill and Ted Face the Music, is going straight to VOD on September 1st, I believe.
Well, yeah, so whatever theaters are open in VOD.
Sure, yeah. But that's drive-ins and,
Santitos.
Diners and dive.
So he's never gone to a drive-in. I saw that joke made somewhere. Has he ever been to a drive-in, Guy Fieri?
Yeah, sure, he has.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I say this as an enthusiast. Hold on.
Oh, shit.
As an enthusiast.
Wow.
I went to one of the restaurants he went to in San Antonio. I can't remember what it was called. It's over on Broadway.
It's Broadway?
It's like a taco place, but it has like jicama fries or something.
Beto's?
Yes.
Ah, yeah, Beto's. Place is good. Empanadas.
Mm.
Yeah, an old show that I used to do called Adventure Lunch. We went there once, and we tried jicama fries. It just tasted like nothing.
Yeah.
You read jicama fries? It's just like, here's some stuff.
Jicama is like lettuce. It doesn't taste like
it's just
anything.
matter. Like, so Bill and Ted 3. Have either of you two familiar with the Bill and Ted movies? Is it something you're looking forward to?
I am super excited. I grew up with the first one. I'm not, I don't know.
I always saw
that.
I always saw the second one way more than I saw the first one.
No, you're right, because the second one was when the historical guys came, right? Like
no,
when Ben
the second
Franklin?
one. No, that's the first one. The second one is when they die, and they go and they end up meeting up with death.
With death, that's right.
And then they have the robot versions of them, and then they build their own robot versions of themselves, and then they have that little alien named Station who like combine. Yeah. Anyway,
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I don't. Cody, you haven't seen either of them, have you?
I don't think so.
Is that on your list of things for your other show to watch? Your
it should be.
Good Willow Hunting, yeah.
I'm sure it will be, especially if we can time it for release.
Oh wait, so there's moving goalposts for this thing?
Yeah, so it basically, if one comes up, it's added to the list. They're going to put together like a master list, but it's open. I mean, it's a vast. There's vast options right now.
Okay. Well, has anything else big moved that we need to talk about?
Yeah, there was the new Wes Anderson movie, The French Dispatch, was also taken off the calendar for this year.
Super sad about that one.
Yeah,
it's the first one with Benicio, and it takes place in France, and it has Timothée Chalamet added, and then all the other regular cast. It's like Bill Murray, Angelica Houston. It's basically like Royal Tenenbaums in France. So, and it takes place at a newspaper. I was so excited for this one. But Benicio plays like a tortured artist who's in prison.
A tortured artist in a Wes Anderson movie.
I know.
Weird.
But he's also imprisoned. So
he was in prison in The Last Jedi too.
Oh, that's right. I love Benicio.
Uh-oh, someone's coming in somewhere.
To go away. We have a special guest.
Uh-oh.
He heard France and
his ears started tingling.
He what's it called when you
that accordion?
The opposite of evaporating when you appear.
Huh?
What's the opposite?
Materialize?
Yes, he materializes when you say France.
It's like, I don't know what that means. He heard that accordion music you always hear like in stock music?
We were talking about that the other day because we were watching that new Zac Efron show, and they were in Paris, and immediately they start playing the accordion music.
Is that prevalent in France? The accordion? It doesn't seem like it.
There's a lot of things that are stereotypes for a reason. I mean, when I was there, they were playing Spurs games in a restaurant that we were at, which was super cool. So that was
Tony Parker even on the team then, though?
No, I don't. I think it was after. It was just a couple years ago. But they just play it on loop. I think they just love the Spurs, even regardless of Tony Parker.
That's how the Rockets still are with Chinese population. Like it's still popular, even though Yao Ming has been gone for 10 years now.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, probably.
Anything else to add?
R.I.P. Wes Anderson.
Well, he's not dead.
I think he's still with us.
R.I.P. Dispatch. It's supposed to come out October 16th, I think, and so I like that they just said, you know what, we're not going to do a Tenet and keep pushing it back every 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm sure if they get the window, they'll do it, but I don't think there's anything.
It seems like a Christmas movie anyway. I want to watch it when it's cold.
Again, not to beat this drum continuously, but again, I don't know why you just don't give it like a 2 or 3 week lead time and just say, when it's safe, it'll open.
Right.
I don't give you like a 2 to 3 week heads up.
I don't understand the math behind it either. I mean, I assume it's just habit for them to stake out a date, but I don't get why, like you said, Cody, why don't you say hey, cool, things are clearing up. Get ready in a couple weeks.
Right.
You're going to be able to see Tenet.
Cut all the commercials get all the marketing materials ready, and then just keep them in a warehouse and
about
then
building
send them
anticipation.
Well, I mean, it's not even like they're just files now these days. It's just like
right, but I mean
files.
like posters or
Oh yeah, sure,
shit like that.
But like it doesn't need to be staked out because there's nothing else around.
It's like an old habit dies hard. They can't stop.
Yeah, you have to stake out your date. Yeah. I mean, again, it's probably with the theaters. I still think it's probably them trying to lobby their local governments that hey, it's safe. But with movie theaters, I don't know what the goddamn point is. Or not movie theaters, studios. Anyway, anything else?
Nah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have The Rental.
Let me show you out back, and then I'll get out of your hair. The stars are insane out here.
I should have brought the telescope.
What do you need a telescope in the city for? Unless you're like a peeping Tom or something.
Charlie! Tell me that's not a camera.
This is the directorial debut of actor Dave Franco. It's a horror film available on VOD right now. Cody, tell us about The Rental and what you thought of it.
Well, so The Rental is, like you said, directorial debut of Dave Franco. And essentially, you can see it a little bit in that clip, but it's almost like an Airbnb horror movie where these people rent a house for the weekend, and the owner or person who runs the house appears to be kind of weird, kind of off-putting, mildly racist, and so as the weekend progresses, as you see in the clip, there's a complex relationship that happens, and there's cameras that are found inside the showers, and they realize that they are somehow being watched and monitored. I'm not going to mince words here and say that I really did not like this movie. I think the primary problem with it is that every character sucks. Every character is either annoying or obnoxious or some kind of and I don't know if that's by design, and I don't think that it is. I tried to think about this, and I tried to think, am I supposed to hate these people, or is this on me? and I couldn't figure it out, but I don't think that it's by design.
What do you mean by hate? Like that they're bad people, or that they're just I'm not sure what.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're annoying. Like, so one of the characters so I guess if you want to, the main couple is played by Dan Stevens and Alison Brie. And I think, and then Dan Stevens' brother is also there. It's like a 4-person vacation. And then his girlfriend is the business partner of Dan Stevens. And I think his girlfriend, what's that character name? Is it like
Mona?
Is it?
Mona
I don't remember.
Mona is a terrible character. She's annoying. She's oddly combative about, like, she's always wanting to be combative about things. And I find Alison Brie to be someone who just complains the entire time.
Alison Brie is basically playing Trudy from Mad Men, her character from Mad Men. I don't know if either of you watched Mad Men, but this is like this oblivious sort of like floating through the background annoying person.
Yeah. And I think it creates a bit of a complex relationship dynamic that I don't think really works. I think, one, it's pretty telegraphed and obvious, and then once it kind of kicks into gear, I just found myself not caring about anything that was going on throughout the course of the movie. And then you get to the part where, it takes a while to turn into a horror movie, I think. And then when it properly does, it just doesn't make any sense. You see the hint of the camera, and I don't want to spoil too much because, whatever, but, you see the hint of the camera, and ultimately at the end of the day, the camera means nothing because of what ends up happening afterwards. It's almost as if the camera is like a minor inconvenience, because I think the idea that Franco wants to build is that these people turn on each other first, And I don't think that ever happens because it has no time to breathe. And also there's things that happen that he catches on camera that there's no possible way he could have saw coming. And there's no possible way he could have planned, the person who is behind this. And so at the end of the day, it just ends up being like, it's so weird that it takes all of its time to set up and then just the laziest finish that you can possibly think of, where it turns into a very generic horror movie. And I just found myself really disinterested in the characters, really disinterested in the direction that it goes, in the horror that it turns into, and just really kind of hating everyone involved.
Jocelyn, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's strange that when it does become kind of like this horror slasher movie, it sort of discredits everything that happened before that, leading up to that. So really, none of that matters anymore. And I'm glad I wasn't the only one who disliked Mona so much, because Cody made me feel bad for hating her so vehemently, I guess you can say. But it wasn't. It's the fact that her character is annoying, yes, but then also she's set up as like this brilliant person who's like so. She's like this femme fatale kind of, and I just think it was miscast, and I just don't find the actress to be just at all sort of appealing. And I think if they had gotten the right actress, that could have been a really interesting element to it. But for me, I mean, obviously also because it's, Alison Brie, and we all know her, and if, like you said, if you're a fan of Mad Men, you know her, and Community, she's much more famous than this person. For me, she was much more the person that I was interested in watching. But she was so boring. She was just kind of, like you said, like Trudy, just sort of a boring, nice girl who just went along with everything. And then again, none of it matters anyway, because then it turns into the slasher film, and everything's kind of just thrown out the window. So
yeah, so it's like the thing that you're both saying, and I think the Mona character, that is her name, right? We're getting that right? It is Mona?
So.
I don't know.
Because I don't remember her name being Mona, and I don't want to be saying the wrong name.
I mean, we've committed at this point, but
someone look that up while
I'll look at it.
Okay, so it's one of those things that you think she's like, they're setting her up to be sort of this. What
Mina.
Is it? Mina.
Oh, so close.
It's
Mina.
not, as long as it's not Ina. Mina, Mona. Right.
Oh.
Okay, you're one letter off. It's they're setting her up to be this final girl, I think, in the horror trope, sort of fashion. But then the movie just sort of ignores everything about being a horror movie and just kind of becomes nonsensical. And I don't want to give it away, but the end of the movie, there's no resolution, and it doesn't. It doesn't feel like it's at the end of the day, like Cody mentioned, the camera stuff makes no sense because it's totally a plot convenience that
it's inconsequential, which is weird,
right? And then by the end of it, you realize that literally everything was inconsequential, and it doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't have any kind of basis on. The characters itself, or why it's happening, or even who these people are, and what they have in common with anyone. And then it just ends, and it has this weird epilogue where you see like more potential terrible stuff happening, and it doesn't resonate at all. It just feels like a movie that wanted to have a strange ending. And I think it does do some heavy lifting at the beginning. It takes like 45 minutes of its 90-minute runtime to really turn into a horror movie, and it's kind of interesting how it's playing out somewhat, and then it just kind of devolves into nothing, and it's a real disappointment.
Well, and I think too, it tries to in the beginning set up some kind of like racial element of it too. Like it plays with the idea of racism. And one, it's a type of racism that in today's landscape seems, hardly a problem. And I think it's I mean, again, when you have literal Nazis around and this person, just denies an Airbnb request, it seems a little, not as severe as what we're actually dealing with. But also, it doesn't do anything with it. And it just serves as a means to ultimately do quite a disservice to Toby Huss, who plays the owner, who is a great actor. And
he's fun.
Yeah, and I think he's probably the best part of the movie, honestly. And it does a disservice to him not allowing him to do more with that. It's again, I don't want to spoil what's going on in it, but I just don't think that he has enough to do with that, and I don't think that the undertones of racism have anything to do with anything other than just kind of serving as a red herring of some kind. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's playing the kind of classic role of the guy that, you have no idea what his connection to anything terrible might be. Like he's sufficiently creepy to start with, and like you said, probably racist, and then the movie doesn't really do anything with him. Like it just sort of abandons it, without giving too much away. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that was just kind of squandered, and I don't really get why it went the way it went. I mean, unless it was just an attempt to make like some sort of different horror movie ending, slasher movie ending, I guess you would call it, but it doesn't really satisfy anything that came before it.
Well, in the epilogue that you talk about sort of doesn't add anything to anything. Like I don't know if it's trying to set up like a mythology of it all, but it honestly makes things a little bit, it makes it a little bit less clear, because now suddenly, it almost sets up as if certain people were targeted for a specific reason, and then you lose that
it doesn't
with the epilogue.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, grades, Cody.
I've been torturing myself between a C- and a C.
Why? Why have you been?
I don't know.
Thinking about it this much.
Very serious.
I truly haven't. I just couldn't think of a better word. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with a C, because I think it is competently made and it looks nice.
Yeah.
And I think it's not a poorly made movie in like a technical sense, but I really just disliked everything else about it. So I'm gonna land on a C.
Jocelyn?
Yeah, I think it was heading in a direction that I was actually enjoying if it had stayed on that path of like a psychological drama. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Dave Franco is like some sort of nihilist who just wanted to like bomb his entire movie with like something completely, left field. But I'm going with the C as well, just because same things. Like I was actually enjoying the ride up until it, made no sense and kind of went in a weird direction.
Yeah, I think a C is fair. I think it's. I mean, I liked the way it looked, and I think it was well directed. And if Dave Franco keeps doing it, I think it's a good first step. But yeah, C for me. Okay, let's move on to our next movie, Radioactive.
We thought we would find a new element. We were wrong. It's taken 4 years, 4 tons of pitch blend, 40 tons of corrosive chemicals, and 400 tons of water. We are here to present to you 2 new elements, polonium and radium.
We all thought that atoms were finite and stable. Well, it turns out some of them are not. And in their instability, they emit rays. I have called this radioactivity. We are here to tell you that you have fundamentally misunderstood the atom.
So this is the story of Marie and Pierre Curie, more Marie Curie, who of course was a famous scientist, obviously discovered radioactivity, as you see in the clip. Jocelyn, since this is a very French movie with no French in it, what did you think of Radioactive?
And I think that's why I selected it. And sadly, it was about as interesting as that clip showed. It was very
expository.
Yes. So it shows the story, like you said, of Marie Curie when she arrives in Paris and through her discoveries, meeting her husband and then them working together to discover these elements and then going through her life. And then kind of interwoven in between that are clips from famous kind of discoveries that were a result of this, her elements in the radioactive radiation. So like we see Chernobyl, we show like the A-bomb, and it's kind of like her greatest hits kind of a thing.
Yeah, I don't know that's, I mean, it's I see what you're saying.
I don't quite think that's the point.
Well, I think that's why I said it like that, because they're really kind of out of place. And for me, it was very strange because like some of them are really, of course, beneficial to society. They were showing like chemotherapy and the benefits of that. And then they show like, again, the A-bomb and Chernobyl. And you're just like, oh, you're supposed to say like, wow, look at it. It's supposed to be very heavy. And that's sort of similar to, I think, Rosamund Pike's performance in this. She overacts like you would not believe. And it's just kind of like, bless your heart. Because I don't know. For me, less is more. And to see her performance, it was just so over the top that it was very cringeworthy. And then after all that, it was still just so long and boring, which is a really interesting thing to accomplish, considering, that you're kind of seeing all of these different elements. And
I get it. Elements.
Oh, I didn't even mean to make that pun.
Always
but yes.
take credit. Always take credit.
Yes, I had that in my head. I was ready to make that. So yes, all these different elements. And then at the end of the day, I thought, okay, I learned a little more about them, which was kind of interesting. I did learn that they were like the most awarded family. They have like 5 Nobel Prizes between her and her daughters and her husband. So I thought there was some kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. I learned something, but is it worth watching the however long movie? I just don't think so.
I think it's just under 2 hours, but
ouch.
Yeah, I get it. Cody, what about you?
Well, speaking of elements, this movie was borium, right? I disagree with Jocelyn that it's not a good performance from Rosamund Pike, because I think she actually is the thing that keeps it from collapsing completely. I think more the problem is that the script fails her and the script fails the movie. I think that it's a boring movie. I mean, it's just slow moving. It's there's not, even though it spans history and talks about the discovery of things, it's a very like laborious process to get to the point of everything. And again, like I said, I think that she is fine. I think that it's inconsistently written though, because when you meet Marie Curie, it's almost as if she's like somewhere on the spectrum. And then by the end of the movie, she's like super confident and like the most confident person in the world. And it's tracking her character. She's not the same character as she was in the beginning, but from like a problematic standpoint where it like doesn't check out. It's a very, to me that these are the type of movies that seem like they're, really geared towards a specific like older adult audience. Like just the way that it looks, like there's a lot of real soft focus stuff, and it just see,
I thought that was intentional to like kind of be like a radioactive glow. Maybe.
I think that might be giving it too much credit, but maybe.
I don't know. There's a lot of it's this movie, if anything, it's very stylistic.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of gets to the point of what Jocelyn was talking about. I would not call it greatest hits because it does feature dropping nuclear bombs on people and such. But, I think the idea, there's a line in there somewhere that they didn't hold a patent for anything. So, people kind of took their invention and ran with it. And I think you see people creating it for both the good and the bad. I see what they're going for. And I can appreciate what they were going for. I don't think it works at all. And I think it's really one of the worst parts of the movie, because it serves as some kind of weird element of foresight that I think is oddly placed, and 2, it's disruptive because you see something happening in, you know, the time that it's set in, and then suddenly it's flashing to, Chernobyl, for example.
Right.
And I think it interrupts the narrative that's happening at that point in time. And I think to give perspective inside a movie that is ultimately a period piece, it's an interesting move. It's not done very often, and I applaud the effort. I don't think it works. And for that reason, and the combination of things, again, I don't think it's a terrible movie. I think that it's well performed for the most part, and I think that it's an interesting story about an interesting person, but it's told in a very non-exciting way.
Yeah, so the cutaways that you mentioned, there's actually, I think it's the Chernobyl one you just talked about that actually kind of interacts with the action. There's like a fire truck that's driving by, and the guy looks out to see her. I mean, obviously these are meant to be sort of, things that are revelations about this, these elements that she and her husband discovered, or she discovered, the good and the bad that come with it, like the radiation therapy for cancer, then the atomic bomb and Chernobyl. And it echoes the concern she has when they mentioned Nobel, who, of course, the story behind Alfred Nobel, right? And dynamite. You both know that, right?
Right.
He invents dynamite too.
It's not Noble.
Nobel. That's what I said. Didn't I?
No.
Oh, but he thinks dynamite is going to end all wars because it's so terrible, essentially. So I think that's the notion that they're playing off of with this, and not holding the patent, or patent as they would call it in that British French that they're speaking. But it is kind of heavy-handed with these flash forwards and sort of asides, and it's not really clear what's happening at some of them. When you go to the hospital and you see the kid getting the radiation therapy, and then you have, I guess, the every like stock Japanese stereotype in the Hiroshima segment. Like, I mean, could that have been any more?
I know.
I mean, it's
very loaded.
Oh, it was. I mean, obviously, unimaginable destruction, but everyone's wearing a kimono and like in the. I mean, it's ridiculously stereotypical. Anyway, those things just don't really work for what I do. Like Cody said, I do applaud what they were going for, but I just don't think it all comes together in something that makes enough sense to warrant, first of all, the kind of boring expository crap that this movie is full of, and then the runtime. Like it's less than 2 hours long, but it feels long as hell.
Yeah,
and it's just there are some stylistic touches, like the seeing her husband who dies. It's not a spoiler that Pierre Curie is dead. I think is not a spoiler, but seeing his blood drip and it turns, it goes from red to like some sort of radioactive glow. I wish it would have gone more into the kind of quackery that went with this radioactive stuff, because like there's a segment in the film where they talk about like all the products that people are making, like radioactive cigarettes and matches and stuff. Like that stuff was so prevalent back then.
Yeah, women used to wear it as makeup.
Yeah, and there used to be like a
glow.
Yeah, and like they used to have like X-ray machines for your feet, like to see how shoes fit. And I mean, it gave radiation poisoning to so many people. It's just boring. Cody, let's do grades. Jocelyn, what's your grade?
Yeah, I think heavy-handed is the word that I would use to describe this. Not just the movie, not just those kind of flash forwards, but again, Rosamund Pike's performance. I think it was just in these dramatic moments way too over the top.
I was okay with her.
I'm thinking about these two particular scenes where I was just like, come on, can we get over, like, we get the point, you know, like, you don't have to oversell this. I don't know what the point of those were, but I don't know. I just prefer a little more subtlety, I guess. But I'm going to give it a C+.
C+. Okay, Cody, what about you?
Yeah, again, I think I go the opposite way. I think Rosamund Pike is the thing that holds it together and keeps it from being worse. Not that it's like an award-worthy performance or anything like that, but she certainly holds her own. And I think that it's a movie that tries to do a lot, and it's ambitious in its storytelling at times, but it's weird that the ambition is also balanced with like super standard storytelling. So it's a weird combination that doesn't quite come together. That said, it's not terrible. It's just kind of, you know, it's worse. I think the worst sin it commits is that it's boring.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say C+ as well.
Yeah. I feel like it's, it just reminded me this second of something like Rocket Man, which is a kind of a pretty standard biopic, but it has these like crazy flourishes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of what this is going for, but it's just a little too boring to pull it off. I'm going to go with a C+ also. It's not a bad performance by Rosamund Pike. I think it's fine. I'm not really a fan of the, you know, this kind of staid, you know, monotonous storytelling. And I think it does some disservice to it. And it feels like it's you know, it's missing something to make it interesting when it's an interesting enough story on its own. So C+ for me. And that's available right now on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it for free. Okay, let's move on to our next movie, Yes, God, Yes.
You are here as a part of God's plan. His Spirit moved each of you to sign up for this retreat.
What was that?
Hi, Alice, right? Yeah. Welcome.
It's okay if you think things are totally weird.
I'm gonna need your cell phone and watch. You won't be needing a watch this weekend anyway, because you're on Jesus' time. See ya.
Alice, this retreat isn't going to do you any favors if you're not honest. So have you ever felt turned on?
So this is sort of a let's do Cody's pun, coming of age film about a Catholic girl who sort of discovers her sexuality and is wrestling with that. This is featuring Natalia Dyer. It was originally released at a festival in 2017, Cody?
As a short film.
Short film. Okay, Cody, tell us about Yes, God, Yes and what you thought of it.
All right, here's the rub.
Oh.
All right. So I actually saw, it did start as a short film in 2017 and then expanded to a feature film, which premiered at South by Southwest, or it played at South by Southwest at least, last year, where I saw it for the first time. And upon first watch, I remember walking away being, thinking that it sort of didn't lean enough either way. It didn't lean hard enough into the clear, religious rebellion, and it didn't lean hard enough into the coming of age, sexual awakening type thing. And upon rewatch, I've softened my stance on it a little bit, and I liked it a lot more this time around. And I know I was okay. I thought you were going to comment about me saying softened. In there,
no, I'll take it. I'll take credit. Yeah.
So I think that it has a really a really strong kind of sense of character to it. And some of the stuff works better than others. Like for example, like you see like this arm hair joke that happens. What did I?
I'm sorry. I hit the. I hit the wrong.
Does me.
I hit the wrong super. Sorry.
Jocelyn.
Oh, okay. So like, there's that arm hair joke that I don't think lands very much. However, I think the rumor joke that's going around does land, and I think it's actually pretty funny. I think that, you know, I still think the same thing about the movie in general, which is that it doesn't lean hard enough either way. But I do think, to me, the coming of age sexual awakening thing works a little bit better. And I think Natalia Dyer is actually really good in the movie. And I think, you know, the way she comes across her sexual awakening is actually pretty good. So what you don't see here is that it's set in like the 90s or early 2000s actually. So she has her first experience in like a chat, like a AOL chat, where she's having cyber sex, and I think those scenes are funny too. And I think that, you know, once you get to this, you know, church retreat that they're at, I think the religious part is interesting and leads to some funny stuff, though I don't think that it's really capturing, you know, the nature of repression quite enough. And I don't think that it's really going for that either, because, you know, it is a comedy at heart. I appreciate the runtime. It's like 78 minutes. It's a quick watch. And I just found it to be like a nice little movie. I don't think it doesn't reinvent the wheel. I don't think it's amazing, but I found myself laughing more this time around, and I found myself kind of enjoying the kind of identity that it builds in a very short period of time.
Jocelyn.
So I literally can't think of how to start this without making weird double entendres, but because everything I want to say is like, y'all are gonna say it's a pun, but because I think Cody really, I couldn't put my finger on it, but he helped.
Number one.
I know, that's how I wanted to start this, because I and then I was like, here we go. So I had walked away thinking, like, I wish it had been edgier, but I think you're right that it just didn't lean into either direction well. It wasn't like a coming of age movie, and it wasn't like the sexual awakening movie. It was kind of in between, and I wish they had just committed to one and done it, you know, more. But I think you're right. I loved Natalia Dyer. I thought she was great in it, and I liked her character. I liked that she kind of was this odd duck in this, you know, religious school and going to this religious camp. And I really liked seeing that part at the end when she meets, where she goes to that bar and kind of meets this older lady who kind of helps her understand that she's not weird and that, you know, she's completely normal. And you know, kind of clears up that joke that you were talking about the rumor about her, which is hilarious. So I really enjoyed that. But then it kind of goes back to, you know, that old trope that religious people are hypocrites. And I was really disappointed about that, because it was kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, we've seen movies about this all the time, that the people who are like so overtly religious are often the ones that are doing all the bad things. And I thought that was a little just kind of like, we've seen this before. But other than that, I thought it was a nice little movie.
Yeah, I can definitely see that it was a short film expanded. Even though it's 78 minutes, it feels like it's very padded. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm not a big fan of it once it gets to the camp, because I think it takes a little too long to have anything happen there. You know, I do think Natalia Dyer is good. I wish her character had a little more depth to it, because it doesn't ever really feel like, to me, like that she is, as you mentioned, Jocelyn, an odd duck out. Like, it doesn't ever really feel like that is something that she feels. Like, I get that she doesn't understand what the rumor that's about her, she doesn't understand what it means, and I think that's a funny enough joke.
I think the source of the odd duck stuff is the rumor.
Right, but I mean, it doesn't ever feel like that. Like, I just don't ever see the conflict in her. Like, she has that kind of great scene at the end in the bar that Jocelyn mentioned, where this older woman kind of tells her, you know, all the stuff that she should have known all along, or that can only come with knowledge of getting older. But it doesn't really ever seem like, to me, that she was very conflicted to begin with. And it doesn't, I don't know. I just don't feel like there was a thing to her that had any sort of you know, she knew she was told she would go to hell for this and whatever, but it never really feels like there's a conflict to me in her. I don't know. I mean, and you know, I enjoy seeing the other, you know, unlike Jocelyn, like seeing that there are other people that are hypocrites. And I don't know that it's necessarily that. It's just that they're real people. But I feel like it's
a priest, so
yeah, but he's just celibate. He can still spank it, right?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Is it? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's not allowed.
I don't know anything about Catholicism.
let me just type in Google search. Can a priest
spank it?
Spank it.
I mean,
look. Oh, please make the comment you were going to make.
No, I was. It's.
Go
ahead.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that I think that the reason that she's feeling like I think the conflict is that she's wondering why other people are not also feeling, you know, horny. Like, I mean, I think that's part of the conflict of the whole thing, you know, because again, you know, she's conflicted. She has guilt about it, but also all of the rumors happening about her seem to be about her being like slutty. So I think there's that element playing into it where, you know, you're playing into the guilt behind it, but you're also playing into this idea that, you know, there's a conception about her that's going around that's not true, that, you know, all stems from something she doesn't even understand. And I think, you know, you see people looking at her and talking about her behind her back and creating rumors about her. And I think that she is ostracized by many people, and I think you actually see that. I think you see the ostracization that's going on. So I didn't find any problem with that personally.
I'm not really talking about that, though. I'm talking about more of like her feelings. Like, I get that these people were making fun of her, but that she's naive enough to not even know what this means, I think is...
How old were you when you understood it?
Oh, God.
Whenever Chris Rock's Bring the Pain came on. Because I think there's a joke in that about this. So, I don't know.
Well, we can't all be sexperts, Jerrod. I
mean, you would think, that by the 2000, I think Bring the Pain was like 4 years old, so...
I mean Odd Duck just because she has these feelings, because it seems like everyone else in this movie is either suppressing them and lying about them, or is just like asexual, like that guy that she has a crush on. Well, so that's what I mean by Odd Duck, as far as like not just having these feelings, but seemingly the only person.
Yeah, I just don't. I get what you're saying. I just don't feel like the movie conveys that well enough for my tastes. It doesn't feel like she's conflicted, because she feels almost like a cipher at times. Like there's nothing really happening. Like she's just observing things as she goes through.
I think it's also interesting because she's a female character, and usually those like, you know, overly sexed people are male characters. Like you think of American Pie or something.
Right. And I mean, I have no problem with any of that. You know, it's fine, but I just think the movie owed her a little more, and I don't think it delivers on it personally. And you know, 78 minutes, it could have been longer. You know, I don't know that it's, you know, so you saw it as a short film, Cody?
No, I saw the feature.
Oh, okay. So is this do you know, is this the short, or did they remake it? Like, is this the short stretched out, or is it remade?
That's a good question. I believe it's been remade.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure.
I just don't know that there's enough story here with what they have that fills out the movie, and I still think it's missing stuff. So, anyway, grades, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel that way, because I think that, like I said, I feel like they've built an insulated world that that feels, you know, like it exists on its own, and it has its own sense of humor. And I think, again, you know, her interactions, and I actually think that, to Natalia Dyer's credit, she plays curiosity really well. And I think because of that, watching her become curious and trying to, you know, figure out her sexuality is probably the thing that, again, works the best about it. So, again, not an amazing film, but enough to where I found myself enjoying it a lot more this time around. So I give it a B-.
Jocelyn.
That's funny. I gave it a B- also, just because like I said, after hearing the description of what it was about, I was imagining something a lot edgier and a lot more provocative. And the fact that it wasn't, I shouldn't take away from this, because it was just kind of like an average little movie that I didn't really hate. So B-.
I'm going to be fair to it. I'm going to give it a B- too, just because I didn't appreciate certain things. I do think it's a fine little movie.
This is scary. I wonder if we're going to go 4 for 4 here.
I know, this is weird.
We'll see on this next one.
And I've been writing mine down. I haven't just...
Well, we're not going to be 4 for 4 because
oh, that's right. You didn't say or 3 for 3, though.
All right, let's move on to our last movie, Retaliation.
You're cold. You judge people. Judging is a sin.
I keep having this dream. Not really a dream, it's a nightmare.
Went to mass here when I was a kid. Didn't you go to church here too?
Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned.
What would you like to confess?
I've to hurt someone. I've to hurt someone severely.
What are you here for?
Revenge.
So this movie stars Orlando Bloom. It's available on VOD right now. Jocelyn, tell us about Retaliation and what you thought of it.
Sure, it's not very complicated. It's a person who is a victim of sexual abuse when they were younger, who has grown up and kind of carried with him, the sort of like ghosts that go along with that. And it's, of course, affecting his adult life and relationships, and we see all of that. Orlando Bloom is the main character. He has this really close relationship with his mother. And he also works as a kind of construction guy who's dismantling the church where his abuse happened. So that's kind of course, symbolic. He has, this kind of friend in his little English town, a girlfriend. And really we just see kind of how sort of everything that he's gone through affects these relationships. And, I was really kind of surprised at Orlando's performance. I didn't expect him to be, as good in this dramatic way as I thought he was. And I think ultimately the movie is about not just forgiveness, but about, I think, realizing that holding on to demons from your past is more hurtful to the person that's holding on to them, and letting that go, I think is what I took away from that. And I thought ultimately it was a pretty interesting watch, and sort of a psychological, or not psychological, but more like a just a mental sort of exercise in getting past sort of trauma.
Cody, what about you?
Well, it's a super bleak movie. It is, and I say that as a compliment because it's something that I really like. It reminded me a lot of this movie from 2011 called Tyrannosaur, which is a movie that it opens with a guy kicking a dog to death. It is like the bleakest movie I've ever seen. And
Cody.
I know, but by the end you kind of like the guy. But again,
the dog was an ass.
At least.
The dog was an ass. But yeah, so it reminded me a lot of that because it has a lot to do with people being really pissed off at religion in some way, and I think first and foremost, like I said, it's super bleak. It's dark. There's a lot of really messed up things that happen in it. There's a lot of very clear trauma that's coming out in interesting ways, I guess you could say, that Orlando Bloom inflicts on himself. Orlando Bloom is fantastic in the movie. I don't know that he's ever been better in anything. It's a really great, really intense performance. And it's sort of, similar to Tyrannosaur as well. You get the feeling that these are really intensely written long monologues that happen, it like in a way that it feels like segments from a play or something like that. I think the biggest problem is that the movie is very literal with its metaphors, and it's very heavy-handed with its metaphors. I mean, the guy literally works as a person who exclusively tears down churches. And like there's one scene where he's like unscrewing the Jesus thing, and he literally, you know, someone tries to help him, and he literally bears the cross by himself, you know, walking it away. You know, it's very heavy-handed. The ending of the movie is like intensely literal. Like, I mean, it is as literal as it can get when I think it's trying to be metaphoric, and I think it's you know, literal. And so I don't love how heavy-handed that it is. And I think, again, there's, you know, the character of the girlfriend, who I think is a good actress, and I think, you know, that relationship could be good, but instead it's meant to kind of show Orlando Bloom where he's at. You know, every character that's not Orlando Bloom in the movie is sort of a barometer for where he's at in his journey of trauma. So I don't think that it allows for well-rounded characters. That being said, there's something about it that's really good. And I think it kind of like, it like takes away two things, but then gives you back one really great element, like, you know, strong elements of script, a strong performance, you know, how dark that it is, and kind of being unflinching in that sense. And I don't think it ends great, but I think, you know, there's a sort of magnetism to Orlando Bloom's performance that's kind of something that you can't overlook. So it's an imperfect movie. I wish it was more subtle, but that being said, it's still intense, and it's still a very interesting character study.
Can I ask? I didn't see the film. What is his name in the movie?
Mona.
I just wondered if it had the standard like literary.
Oh,
like
that's a good
JC.
question.
It was
Malky.
It was Malcolm.
Yeah, so they call him Malky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a job just like strictly dismantling churches?
I can't imagine that there is.
Like
well,
a contractor.
I think they were construction workers. I think they just happened to be on a church project because his friend tells him they're going to go to Hull to do another project.
Right, but he's also talking with his mom at times, talking about taking down churches.
Okay.
So.
Well, I think they were talking about that specific church because it's the one that they, you know, went to growing up.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a great story that covers, you know, not only abuse in, you know, the church, but also denial of abuse, and you know, what happens when abuse is undersold and and kind of undermined and things like that. So yeah, it's intense. It's intense.
All right, grades, Jocelyn.
Yeah, I totally agree with Cody about the scenes where they're not trying to be metaphoric, but it's literal. It's like beating you over the head with what they're trying to say, where it could have been done in a little, I think, more roundabout way. But that's not to say that it takes away from the movie at all. So I'm going to give it a solid B.
Solid B. All right, Cody.
Yeah, I was there, and for the sake of matching on 4, I would like to be there. But unfortunately, I think that I kept on picking out problems with it. And I think if it was like just maybe like 15, 20% less literal with its metaphors and less heavy-handed, and if they did not beat you over that. I mean, again, you have to remember, this movie ends with a literal action of a Bible verse that happens. Like, it's just not subtle. And
see, for me, the ending wasn't like, you know, biblical. I thought it was more like I don't want to give anything away, but it's like,
I think the Bible, people have read the Bible.
Well, it's a often used way for religious people to kill themselves, is I guess the easiest way to say it without giving it away. But it's more of it's an extremely symbolic gesture that you don't often tie to the Catholic religion. For me, it was more of a like this is what people do when they are really trying to make a statement with how they kill themselves.
It is, but it's also a literal manifestation. Yeah. It's a literal manifestation of the words in the Bible. Like if you look at the
right,
if you look at the passage, what is said in the Bible almost literally happens, and that to me is heavy-handed. That's
to clue Jerrod in offline.
Yeah,
I don't know the Bible well.
And I don't want to spoil it because I think there is some tension to the end of the movie, and I don't want to tip it one way or another.
Agreed.
So, but yeah, we'll tell you about.
Did you ever give us your grade?
No.
Oh, sorry, B-.
B-. So B for
Just
Jocelyn.
missed it.
B- for Cody. Okay, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, there's a shit ton, isn't there, Cody?
Well, there was.
And
then we kind of, between virtual cinemas and theatrical runs that are brief.
Oh, we had a long argument about virtual cinemas.
We did. But this is more of the case of like, there's 2 movies that are opening limited next week that I had on my calendar, but it turns out it's just in theaters and drive-ins, and then it comes out VOD in the following week. So we're going to have to see how we're going to do that. But for sure, we have a documentary about the ACLU called The Fight that's coming out. And then I think we might cover a couple movies. There's one called Summerland. There's one called Save Yourselves. And then, She Dies Tomorrow comes out in drive-ins, but isn't out on VOD until the 7th. Boy State is out in theaters on the 31st, but isn't out on Apple TV until the 14th. So we have
I think that's the first. We ran into that with Yes God Yes, and that's the first. I think that's the first virtual cinemas only / cinemas we've encountered, or not.
We have encountered it before, but for some reason it wasn't a big deal then. I
don't remember. That's why I'm asking. Because
House of Hummingbird was a virtual cinema release.
I didn't see that one, so maybe that's why. Anyway,
Jocelyn's favorite movie of the year.
Yeah. Okay, so if you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. You can find us on Twitter @CineSnob, Facebook CineSnob Critic. You can listen to our other podcasts, Re-MCU, Rewatching the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Quarantine Stream. Our latest episode with Jordan Olds is up now. Jordan is a, what would you call him, Cody?
He is a talk show host that does a late night, it's a heavy metal late night theme, or a heavy metal themed late night talk show that's on YouTube. But he also is a musician who does cover songs. They've been doing bedroom covers. So they get, people from different bands of all kinds of genres to do different weird versions of different songs.
Yeah, we talked to him about his show, 2 Minutes to Late Night, which he said, which I didn't realize was a kind of their attempt to make a heavy metal version of Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
Yeah,
which is awesome. And man, he had a lot to say. He was one of our longer episodes, so
yeah, I was not expecting it.
He had to actually bail because he had to run on one of our episodes. He had to run, and he's like, "Hey guys, sorry." I'm like, no, it's been like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's out. Part 1 of that is out now. Part 2 will be out next week. Cody, you have the Ramble.
Ramble Tuesdays, Ramble Radio Tuesdays and Fridays, Ramble Prime as we're calling it on Wednesdays.
I noticed it was called Ramble Prime.
Yeah. And then also, now that we have this video element, if you are out there and are listening and want to see us, you can find us on our YouTube channel. And also, we have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CineSnob. If you're a Twitch person and want to follow us, we'll be streaming like this show and some other things.
We're setting up cameos now. You can get us to wish you happy birthday. I wonder if you can't just set your own up, right? They have to ask you.
I mean, you have to be able to, because I've seen some very minor celebrities on there that there cannot possibly be a market for.
Just be like, hey, happy birthday. Was it you, Cody, that sent me the Vince Neil drunk? Have you seen that, Jocelyn?
No.
Vince Neil, like a cameo wishing some guy, and he's just blitzed.
Super drunk. Aw.
Yeah, and in his cameo, like referencing names of his songs, like he's like, "Hey, shout at the devil!" And just,
there, Dirk.
Like Hasselhoff with the cheeseburger.
Yeah, but like way worse because this was meant for public consumption.
Right.
Did I send you the video that there's these guys who do they work for Jimmy Fallon now, but they did these YouTube comedy videos. And like there was one where like it was a fake Jack FM commercial, and then there was one where it was a fake Cameo thing where they were just like they were being obscure, like they would go like, "Hey, it's me, Joe Namath's son," and like it was just like completely like random.
I want to know who these like minor celebrities are, because I think everyone on Cameo fits that bill basically.
There are some big, like I keep seeing an ad for Cameo for Mandy Moore, which seems like really giant, and I think hers is all for charity. But I think
there's celebrity impersonators on Cameo, so
why?
Yeah. Well,
Why?
shit. So we could be on Cameo then.
like I'm pretty sure that half of the washed up NBA stars that we've brought up on this podcast are probably on Cameo.
It's like, is that Doug Christie?
Cody's gonna do Jason Schwartzman.
Oh. Cody, if they had Adam Scott, would you get an Adam Scott cameo?
Probably.
Yeah.
Although I have a video of him talking to me already.
I remember that photo. Is that the one where you look like a child? No, that's Conan.
That's Conan. Yeah.
There's a photo of you with Conan.
He's extremely tall.
But Cody is like
That's
baby
unfair.
faced. Cody has no facial hair, and Cody.
Conan's like 6'7" or something.
He's not that tall.
Conan's like
but
6.
He's really tall.
But I am also not tall. So.
He's 6'4". Anyway, Jocelyn.
I saw the mooch. The mooch is on Cameo.
Oh God,
I
he
know.
followed me on Twitter. By the way,
Really? That's crazy.
I don't know when he had his like 5 minutes of fame.
Uh-huh.
He ended up following a bunch of random people on Twitter, and I was like, "Why the fuck is Anthony Scaramucci following me?"
Do you guys have any of those of like the weird random Twitter followers? Because there's two that I can think of for me. And bear in mind, I do nothing on Twitter, but I was followed by Tay Zonday, Chocolate Rain.
Okay.
And also Tay Diggs followed
everybody.
me.
Tay Diggs followed everyone. By the way,
You just reminded me. I had a conversation with the full-on double rainbow guy once, who just sadly passed away because I was making a joke about not getting alerts when like famous people passed away, and then I would get one when full on double rainbow, and he like tweeted and said, "Nope, still here," and then he did pass away, and I felt so bad. But that was my weird Twitter like, oh my God, and then I tweeted him back how much I loved his video and how much joy it has brought me throughout the years. So
so my name, Jerrod Kingery, is pretty unique. And it's, from what I can tell, the only person in the world with the name.
Especially the way it's spelled.
Yeah, and I found a guy on Twitter going by Kingery Jerrod.
Jerrod, J-A, or
no, like
same way?
I'm going to show you. I'll see if I can hold that up to the camera. His account has since been suspended. You can't see that, but he had a picture that looked vaguely like me.
Oh boy.
And also mentioned that like he loved Taco Bell and lived in Austin, and I was like,
that's on brand.
I was like, who is this? Is someone trolling me? Like, it doesn't, I don't know. Like,
Maybe
it didn't make
was
any
your
sense.
Wife.
No, she has no idea how to use Twitter. So I mean, if it was, she hasn't come clean about it, because the account was active and it's since been suspended. I don't know what happened.
This is a good prank. I like this prank.
Someone did make me an IMDb page, though. I don't know who, but it has actual credits on it. I mean, nothing I got. Well, only one thing I got paid for, but
You don't have to lie. It was you.
I promise you, it wasn't me. I did merge two IMDb pages because they had misspelled my name, so I had two for a while. It was weird. Anyway. Were we talking about? Oh, Jocelyn, what's going on with you? Anything?
Nothing. No. This weird Norwegian Netflix show that I love came back called The Norseman this week. So I've already binge watched that. But
did you ever watch Lilyhammer?
No, I don't think so. But I think I've heard of
that. Was an early Netflix show.
Yeah,
a Netflix original.
I want to say I think it was the first one. I think like trivia wise, that's the one
Steve Van
that's
Zandt?
considered the first Netflix show.
I need to watch that. I never watched it, but I'm a big Sopranos fan, and I think it was like a lighter version of The Sopranos since it had Steve Van Zandt. But anyway, that was also Norwegian.
But no, I need half as many podcasts as Cody has, so maybe we can just like start saying that I do one of his. Like you can watch The Ramble.
Yeah. Oh. You can just put you down in the corner, like just be like doing nothing, just listening to nothing.
I'm scrolling through seeing if I have any more blue checkmark followers. Sadly, it looks like Tay Diggs is maybe my peak here.
So Tay Diggs followed me, so I followed him back, and I immediately got like a spam message from him.
I wonder
about
if
something.
I have any. I know Kelly Osbourne liked one of mine once.
Were you ever verified, Jocelyn?
No.
Okay, me either. We're just going through our Twitter thing now. Anyway, anything else before we go, guys?
No.
All right. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn Duran.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.